Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we have got a brand spanking new 2023 Ford Ranger. It's the XLT, so it's not top of the range like the Wild Track, but you can see there, XLT. And today we are fitting a dual battery system, but we're going for the ultimate, the DCS Slimline behind the seat 100 amp hour battery with a custom tray. So this will sit, I've already made a start just to get my head around it. I've already removed that back carpet, ready to go. Really simple, nice and easy on these ones. So I'm just going to show you how I do it, the step through step. The kit I've gone for is from Osmotion, right here. I haven't used this company before, but they're local to me in Perth, and their customer service was very good. And these kits are laser cut, made to order, so it takes between 1 and 2 weeks to get it, so you have to allow yourself a little bit of time. But these are specially made to fit the Bane Tree or the DCS Slimline lithium batteries. So they also do the iTech weld with this little adapter. So this is for the BaneTech and the DCS batteries, and then you use this adapter for the shorter, like the iTech weld ones. So they're pretty versatile. What I love about these kits is there's no drilling involved. It's all utilising all the threaded nuts, all the fixings already on the Ford Ranger, so we're not drilling holes in a nice brand new car. So very nice quality stainless, and yeah, we'll get cracking in installing it. So the first off, there's detailed guide of how to remove all the trims, really nicely pictured and detailed, and we'll get started. All right, so here's the back carpet. And what you want to do first is place the battery tray in there loosely, just lay it in there, and then just mark out where you need a cut. And this is just your little child seat anchor point here, and just a Stanley blade, and just cut that section out. It doesn't have to be perfect. There it is there. It's just so the tray can fit, sit flush and have all the fixings available. So yeah, really simple to do. Like I say, the instructions are really nicely detailed. So yeah, we'll crack on to the next section. Okay, so I've just mounted the extension plate for the longer DCS battery right there, so we don't need that bracket anymore. Then we'll go inside. And part of the kit is this little threaded adapter. There's already a hole here on this welded bit of plate, so this just extends it downwards. So we just fitted that. We've removed the jack. Osmotion do a mounting kit for the jack that goes into the canopy, into the rear cargo area, the rear tub, but my customer has got a toolbox, so we didn't need that section. So I can't show you that, but you can see on their website what we're talking about. So yes, we got that little section done. We'll move on to the next. Okay, so next section is to install the lower brace, and here's the bracket, and just behind the seat, sorry about the light, it's crap today, there's these two mounts. These are actually used for the behind the seat rear speaker. They're used on the other models, but obviously this kit will not fit if you have the rear speaker. So lucky enough, this model Ranger doesn't have it, so we're going to utilise these mounts. This is the bracket, and this sits directly over there. Now, these M6 holes aren't actually threaded when they're not being used, so you would have to use a tap to cut a new thread for the M6 bolts that are included in the kit. I don't have a tap with me, so we're going to be using these M6 that's going to cut a new thread for me. So we'll buzz that up and move on to the next section. So the tray mount is all in, and there's that little adapter extension downwards that we fitted earlier. M6 bolt straight in there, anchor point back in its place, and then over this side you got a little mount there and a mount just behind there, as you can see. Same issue with that one. These M6 captive nuts aren't threaded for some strange reason, so you'll have to use a tap to tap out the threads, or get bolts that will cut their own thread, and that's all I've done here. So yeah, we'll just secure all that up and then we'll fit the battery. Okay, everything's all done up nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. I've just fitted the anti-rattle strips that they provide. Just one down there, one down there to support the battery, and now we're going to chuck the battery in. Right, so everything's all bolted up nice and tight, and what I've done is I've laid the carpet in. I've ended up, I only cut that section out as advised to start with, but what I done was laid the carpet in, and I've just cut around it. So I've cut quite a bit of section out of it, just so it sits nice. Here's the extra bit that I cut off, so that's good. The battery will sit against that, and it should look all nice and neat. So now we'll chuck the battery in. There it is, battery's in, clamps on, Osmotion logo, nice little touch. But there you go, it's all, and the carpet sits nicely behind. And when you're fitting the DCS batteries, make sure that your two Anderson plugs, they're 120 amp Anderson plugs, are facing the passenger side, because over there is where we're going to be mounting the DCDC charger and the special mount from Osmotion. So we'll show you that bit next. So here's the DC charger mounting bracket from Osmotion, and I bought this separately, but along with the rear battery tray kit, and this is the part number. So next gen RA Ranger. This has the optional battery monitoring mount, which we're not going with today. We're just keeping it simple for the customer. And as always, they have a detailed installation guide with pictures, which always helps. And this is how it mounts. We want to mount the DC charger onto the bracket first, but we'll just show you. So carpet's in place, but as you saw, we had to cut a little section out to get the carpet away from the seatbelt without undoing the seatbelt and upsetting airbags, etc. And then there's the mount there, and this will sit like so. So straight onto that threaded nut, at the bottom, and then that anchor point there. So no drilling, no cutting. So we'll mount the DC charger onto the unit first, and then we'll bolt that on. Okay, so it's all mounted up. DC charger we mount onto the bracket first, and then you just go through that stud there, and the anchor point straight on. Literally a 5-minute job to install that. So both brackets, even though I've been stopping and trying to film and get the lighting correct, because the lighting's rubbish today, all up probably 45 minutes to fit everything. So because it's all custom made, it's really simple. So really impressed. Go check them out, Osmotion, for your next install, and see what they can do for you. So today we're going with the Redarc BCDC 1225D. So great unit, lithium compatible. So yeah, we're going to get all the wiring in, and I'll show you where we run the wiring and how to connect it all up. So we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, so next stage, wiring up the DC charger. Now this is the Redarc. There's the part number there. Awesome bit of kit, just does the job. Good quality. But whatever DC charger you go for, the wiring is pretty much the same. They may use different colours for different inputs, but we'll go with this one. I'll just run through what you got to do. First things first is you got to change the profile setting. So there isn't a push button on these displays to change the settings. You have to do it via the wiring. And as you can see, we got profile lithium. So there's a orange and a green inside this harness. And I've already taped it up. And all you do is you just join them together. Use a little butt connector or solder them together and then just tape them up out the way. So that will set this unit to lithium profile, ready to go. So next step is we need a vehicle input. Now on the Ford Rangers, all of them, no matter what year you got, it has a smart alternator or a stupid alternator. So that means you have to use an ignition trigger, which is all in the instructions here, which is the blue wire right there. So this needs to be connected to an ignition supply on the Ford Rangers. Now I'll show you how we connect that in a second, but what we'll do first is on that red lead, that is our vehicle battery supply, and that has to be fused. So we'll go around to the front, and I've already ran the cable, and basically here it is here. So I've used 8 BNS cable, which is rated around the 75 amps, but over a long distance obviously you get volt drop. So 8 BNS cable is perfect for this. We are using probably about 3.5 meters of cable. So that just runs through, you're not going to see, but you will when you do it on your car. Down there with that yellow splodge is the rubber grommet that goes through the firewall. So you just cut a little slit in there, do not drill it. Just use a Stanley blade and just cut a little slit into one of the grommets, and you'll be able to, with a little chaser, you'll be able to feed your cable through. And this is what I've done so far. You need to fuse it. This is a maxi fuse holder you can pick up from any automotive store, or Napa if you're in Australia, or America actually. This is where I get all my stuff from, all my consumables. So I've just literally crimped it onto our lead that runs through the firewall, that's going to run down to the DC charger, and we're going to be putting in a 40 amp as specified by Redarc, 40 amp maxi fuse. You can use MIDI fuses as well, but we just wanted to use this one. And on the battery posts, these are all your positives. This one and this one is being used. The two outer ones aren't being used. This is what I've done for my Anderson plugs running down to the back and brake controller. I didn't film that unfortunately. So what we're going to do is use this stud here and put our maxi fuse holder straight onto that. So that's our vehicle battery supply input done. So I'll just put that all in conduit, cable tie it up and fit that, and I'll just show you the M piece there, and then I'll show you where we pick up the ignition supply. Okay, so there's the fuse holder there, running up straight onto the positive. I just added some heat shrink and split conduit just to make it look all nice. So there it is there. There's the 40 amp fuse. Don't put the fuse in yet because we're running cables, and that will cause probably a fire. So yeah, so that's all connected up. Leave the fuse out till last. And what we'll show you now is, sorry about the lighting, it's terrible today. Behind this trim, this all clips in, there's no screws. Pop that trim out first, just take your time, it all just pulls off using your hands. You don't even need a pry tool. And just wiggle this section out, and the great thing about the Ford Rangers is they fall ahead, and if you pull that carpet back, you'll see in yours, and this is all from I think 2019 or 20, I might be wrong, is they've got accessory outputs ready for you. So what's this one? That's your high beam trigger. If you're fitting spotties or a light bar, that comes in really handy. This is your positive light trigger and run start. So run start meaning our ignition. So all we need to do is to connect into that and run a 3mm cable, because it's only a trigger, along with our battery cable that we put on the battery, and run that down along with this existing wiring harness. So we just tap straight into that and run that down to the DC charger. So we do that next. Okay, so we just joined into that ignition trigger. You can't see it, but it's behind that trim, and I've put it in conduit along with that battery supply, and there it is here, run along with the main harness, nice and easy, loads of room, running underneath that trim. Like I say, these trims just pull off, there's no screws, they're all in clips, and there it is there, running through. And then I've just followed it up with this trim here, and runs around the back right there, and then we'll run along with this harness that's already there to join into the DC charger. So we'll connect up them leads next, and then we'll start feeding into the battery. So I'll show you that bit next. All right, so now they're joined. So that's our red and white we picked up off of the ignition trigger, go straight onto the blue, and then red battery supply straight onto the red of the DC charger. So that's our input. Redarc give you the booklet with all the wiring diagram, so that's what we've done already. Inline fuse straight into the DC charger, and then blue is the trigger settings, because it is a smart alternator, so that has to be connected. All right, on a standard alternator like the Land Cruisers and stuff like that, you don't have to connect that blue, which makes life so much easier. But there you go. So we've done that and done that. We've already joined the green and orange together to set the Life PO4 lithium setup, profile charging setup thing. So now we're gonna basically run our brown, which is right there. Our brown is to go to our auxiliary battery right there. So we're going to extend that and put it onto 120 amp Anderson plugs and plug that in. So that's all ready. Obviously we're going to fuse that as well, and we'll move on to the next step. So I'll show you how we do this. So just put some conduit over the joins for the input and the brown, and I've picked up an earth off of a stud that was already there, and this is just earth to the body. So that's all our earth points, and that runs up through here, put an inline maxi fuse holder, same as we did at the battery, and then straight onto our 120 amp Anderson plugs. We didn't crimp the terminals in the Anderson plug, we flooded them with solder, which is in another video. If you check it out, you can see how I do that. So yeah, the idea being is the fuse will just sit like that, so all you have to do is fold the seat forward to get to the fuse. So that's that section done. Next section is the yellow. Yellow is for a solar panel or blanket input. So customer just wants an Anderson plug loose here, so he can plug it in as and when he needs to. So we're just going to put a little 50 amp Anderson there, and we're just going to sit it behind the trim ready to go. So I'll just join that up with our earth, which I've already put the terminal on, ready to go. So we'll get that bit done, and then we'll fit the other Anderson plug, and that will be for our outputs, which will be going into the back of the tray with an Anderson plug and a USB. So second Anderson plug, which is our output, that's going to be running down into the cargo area for our SIGI socket, USB and Anderson plug, which we'll show how we install that in a sec. So just done another inline maxi holder. It's going to have a 50 amp fuse in, and we're just going to cable tie it all up so they sit next to each other and then run it along outside. So we do that next. There's a little grommet that sat there in the back like that. If you peel that off, that is where we're going to run the cables through down to the chassis and run it along the chassis. So yeah, nice and easy, no drilling holes. Okay, so there it goes, running through that grommet, up underneath, coming down there. Then we're going to run it along this chassis on the inside and run it along, and then there's a little panel right here. You can get ready-made ones with all your connections on, but I've brought all the parts individually and we're going to fit them all now. So we'll remove this panel and then I can show you where the wiring runs down. There's my cable coming out from the back of the cab, and we want to run it up over the trim panel and then inside to the tub. This little chaser just shows the direction it's going to go. It's running up the inside, up and around. This is all fixed so the cable can never fall down. And then here's the cable, and this is where all this wiring runs anyway. So we'll just tape it to this chaser and then put it all the way through. So now the wiring's been pulled through, so it's as simple as that. The other option, if you're running wires and you want to go along the chassis and run it over that side, then what you can do is you pop this light out. There's a little, oh, right there, feed the wiring up. Then the cable will come behind this trim. There's a little lip there and you can feed it through. If it's too tight, you can always drill a hole behind the light and feed the cables up through. So yeah, but this is far simpler, straight through, no drilling. And now we are going to fit this USB with an Anderson plug right there, and this pre-existing SIGI socket. We've cut the wires and we're going to wire that to the second battery instead of the main, so we can run a fridge off that and not flatten the main battery. So we'll do that next. So here's the panel all done. So I just used a surface mount Anderson plug holder with optional USB or a SIGI socket or Engel socket, whatever you want. So I went with the twin USB. So I can, right there. And then the factory SIGI socket we've left in place, but the wiring coming up from the vehicle we've cut and isolated, and then all we've done is this is our main lead in from the battery going into the Anderson, and then we've looped out of that to feed the USB and the SIGI socket that's on a separate 15 amp fuse. So yeah, we'll put it all back together and finish off. There we go, all done. Twin USB, Anderson, SIGI, and we put all the trims back on. There's the end result. There's the charger there. We don't need to see the front or have any kind of monitor because this has got Bluetooth, so we're just going to connect that straight to the customer's phone, and he's got it all on his phone. You can see all the drawers, the current, the charge, etc. So yeah, he's all set up, and this is our just portable little Anderson for his solar panel. So that's it. Cheers for watching. Hope it's helped you, give you a confidence to tackle it yourself rather than paying someone like me. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up if you like the video, and if there's any questions, just drop a comment in the comments box, in part numbers, links to websites where I get all my stuff from, then please do, and yeah, we'll get on to the next one. Cheers.